Stephen Colbert welcomed former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi onto his late-night stage, expecting a spirited exchange. But no one anticipated just how intense the conversation would get. As the audience leaned in, the tension began to build with each passing moment. Colbert opened with a joke, but Bondi didn't laugh. Instead, she fired back with a stern look and a sharp rebuttal. The mood instantly shifted. What began as a light-hearted segment quickly turned into a fire verbal match between two strong personalities. Bondi, known for her fierce defense of conservative causes, didn't hold back. She challenged Colbert on everything from his political jokes to what she called media double standards. Colbert, taken aback, tried to regain control of the conversation. The audience, usually responsive with laughter and applause, sat in awkward silence as the conversation escalated. Colbert's quips were met with Bondi's unapologetic counters. It was no longer comedy, it was confrontation, broadcast live to millions. Pam accused Colbert of using his platform to mislead viewers. "You pretend it's comedy," she said, "but you push a narrative." Colbert attempted to steer it back to humor, but Bondi wasn't having it. She doubled down, refusing to play along. When Colbert mentioned January 6th, Bondi cut him off. "I will not let you hijack the truth," she said, pointing a finger. The studio audience gasped, some cheering, others booing. The segment had turned into live television fireworks. The producers behind the scenes scrambled. Colbert glanced off stage, likely signaling for help. Bondi kept talking, delivering a scathing critique of liberal media bias. She brought receipts, quoting Colbert's own past interviews. Colbert tried to pivot to a new topic, but Bondi wouldn't let it go. "You mock people like me," she said, "then act surprised when we fight back." The crowd was split. Half were glued to their seats, others clearly uncomfortable. For every question Colbert asked, Bondi gave a full-throated counter. Her voice grew louder, more impassioned. She interrupted Colbert again, this time over Ukraine. "You joke about war?" she shouted. "You think that's funny?" Colbert stood up from his chair. "This isn't what we planned," he said calmly, but firmly. Bondi didn't sit down. "Maybe you should plan for real conversations," she shot back. The audience murmured, unsure what would happen next. Suddenly, Colbert's executive producer walked onto stage. "A rare move," she whispered in Colbert's ear. He nodded. Then Colbert turned to Bondi and said, "Pam, I think we're going to end this here." But Bondi refused to budge. "You invited me," she snapped. "You don't get to silence me because I don't laugh at your jokes." Security began to approach the stage. The crowd was now fully animated, with pockets shouting in support or opposition to Bondi. Colbert tried one last time to calm the situation. "We appreciate spirited discussion," he said, "but we can't allow guests to hijack the show." Bondi shook her head, calling it censorship. "This is your real agenda," she said. Finally, two producers gently guided her toward the wings. Bondi continued talking as she walked off stage. "This is what the left does," she yelled. "They cancel, they silence, and then they call it comedy." The audience was stunned. Back on stage, Colbert adjusted his tie, trying to regain his usual cool. "Well," he quipped, "that wasn't in the teleprompter." The crowd gave a nervous laugh, but the tone had clearly shifted. This wasn't business as usual. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the confrontation were already being shared. Hashtags like #Bondi vs. Colbert and #LateNightMeltdown trended instantly. Viewers across the country picked sides as the drama unfolded. Pam Bondi released a statement later that night. "I was invited to speak my truth. I wasn't going to be part of a comedy sketch. I stood up for real Americans." Her supporters rallied online, praising her for speaking boldly. Colbert addressed the moment the next night. "Live TV is unpredictable," he said. "Sometimes things go off script, but we stand by our standards for respectful dialogue." It was clear he wanted to move on, but fans weren't done. In conservative circles, Bondi was hailed as a hero. "She stood her ground," one commentator said. "She wasn't afraid of Hollywood elites." Memes, tributes, and interviews with Bondi filled the airwaves in the days that followed. Meanwhile, Late-night writers debated how to approach the moment. Some said it exposed a flaw in Colbert's format, inviting guests without preparing for conflict. Others argued Bondi had turned a comedy show into a political stage. Viewers emailed the network in droves. Some demanded apologies. Others applauded the raw, unfiltered exchange. It became the most watched clip on Colbert's YouTube page in over a year. Controversy had turned into massive traffic. Behind the scenes, staff reportedly met to reconsider guest booking strategies. It was a risk. One producer admitted, "We expected pushback, not a full-on confrontation." Bondi's interview was pulled from future reruns. Pam Bondi went on to appear on multiple news shows. She described Colbert as condescending and arrogant. Her narrative was clear. She came to talk, not be mocked. Her popularity among her base skyrocketed. Some journalists noted the irony. Bondi, who once criticized media sensationalism, had now become a central figure in a media circus. Still, the headlines didn't stop. Every angle of the confrontation was analyzed and debated. Colbert stayed mostly silent on the issue. His team issued only one brief statement: "We aim to host guests with respect and humor. When that balance is lost, we reassess." But Bondi had already claimed victory in the public arena. Protests erupted outside the studio, some supporting Bondi, others defending Colbert's right to control his platform. It was a bizarre twist for a show that once thrived on political satire but now found itself at the center of it. Even comedians weighed in. Some said the moment was comedy gold, others said it crossed the line. Late night was never meant to be a battlefield, they argued, but maybe the lines between entertainment and politics were forever blurred. Pam Bondi's team later shared behind-the-scenes photos of her walking off stage, uncensored, unafraid. Read one caption. Her message was clear: she believed she had been silenced for speaking truth in a room that wasn't ready. Colbert's monologue the next week avoided politics entirely. Instead, he joked about his cat, but everyone knew the elephant in the room hadn't gone away. Pam Bondi's name lingered in the public mind, polarizing and powerful. Critics from both sides weighed in. Some said Bondi ambushed the show. Others said Colbert invited confrontation and couldn't handle it. No one seemed to agree on what the incident truly meant, only that it had left a mark. More than a week later, a podcast leaked alleged audio from backstage. Colbert reportedly said, "She came to fight, not to talk." The clip reignited the debate. Was Bondi truly out of line, or was she the victim of media bias? Regardless of where people stood, one fact remained: the Colbert-Bondi moment had become a cultural flashpoint. It wasn't just about politics, it was about freedom of speech, media narratives, and the future of civil discourse. Bondi announced she'd be launching her own web show, unfiltered and uncensored. She promised. The timing was no coincidence. She had turned a 10-minute segment into a new platform, a smart move, her allies said. Colbert's ratings rose slightly the next week. Controversy, it turned out, still sold, but the tone of his interviews shifted. Less edgy, more controlled. Viewers noticed. Some missed the fire, others welcomed the calm. In the end, the confrontation became more than a viral moment. It was a mirror, a reflection of a divided culture, where even a comedy show could spark a national argument. And in that reflection, both Colbert and Bondi saw opportunity. They both walked away changed. One a late-night host reminded of risk, the other a political voice reborn through fire. Whether it was a debacle or masterstroke depended on who you asked, but no one would forget it anytime soon.